So if we have any others joining us, I'm sure we're going to record this session as well, as I said before. They should be able to have access to this webinar today. So thank you to all the panelists for joining us. The aim of today's session is that I've asked, the employers and one of our alumni with us today, Trisha, to just go through about themselves, what current field they're in, which is obviously relevant to your guys' area, which is engineering, design engineering, product design, or around that kind of area. So give any maybe, insight into what kind of company they're working for, how they got into that role themselves, if they have any background relevant to your guys' degree, a useful tip that they could provide to our students today, that would be really great. And if any opportunities available at this point, if not, then next time when they would become available. So we will have a Q&A at the end. We have done a similar thing for computer science before, a department. So what I would suggest is if we have any questions for the attendees, please keep them with you. And at the end, we'll ask you to just type them in the chat box, and then I'll say them out loud and we can ask the panelists. If it's for a specific person on the panel today, please do write their name. And next to the name, you can just ask your question. So we know exactly who you're asking, unless it's a general question. So I'm going to start off by asking Fraser and JD to introduce themselves, and we'll go on from there.
Okay. Well, we are JD and Fraser. We are co-founders of a company called We Make Stuff Happen, which is a creative production company based in Brighton. We're quite a small business, but we do quite big things. We work with brands primarily, like people like Disney, Pixar, Marks and Spencer, Oxfam, Cadbury, delivering events and also PR stunts that have an element of technical or logistical challenge. So that's kind of what we're known for. In the past few years, we've done things like hang a listed building with 9 tons of clothing, and also sink some giant eggs that weighed 12 tons and were made of polystyrene in Loch Ness. Polystyrene, obviously not known for its ability to sink. So it's kind of very conceptually kind of quite simple. Let's build some giant eggs and sink them in a lock for a TV advert. But actually quite a lot of engineering goes into that. So as much as that is a kind of thing to do, that is the kind of thing that we do.
Okay, thank you. So what, if you were to give a useful tip to our students in the current climate today, especially considering the pandemic as well, what advice would you give?
I would say, first and foremost, don't panic. This is an evolving situation. It's changing all the time, and it will pass. It's like, I appreciate that we're all in a very scary kind of new world. But I think the important thing is actually, like, don't panic. Use this as an opportunity to have some reflection, to actually think about what you actually want out of a career. Maybe you've learned things about yourself because of this experience. Like, what can you take from this and actually channel into things like researching what kind of company you want to work with in the future. It's like a lot of companies are doing a lot of self-reflection themselves. A lot of companies have had to move very quickly to adjust to things like working from home, flexible hours. There are a lot of conversations in our industry about sustainability, that kind of thing. So kind of use this as an opportunity to look for some companies that maybe align with your values, and actually kind of look for some positives and actually channel your energies into the things that you can control, like identifying some key companies that you would like to work with, work on CVs, work on portfolios, that kind of thing. So that when job opportunities start to appear, which they will do, you're in the best possible position to go for what you actually want and what's actually going to kind of, complement your life and actually fit with your personality and what you want to achieve.
On a practical level, something we were talking about prior to this was many of these design, engineering and technology sector software developers have completely opened up their platforms. So you can download trial versions of their software for longer periods of time. You can access what used to be very expensive online training free of charge. So, I mean, in our sector, in the software that we use, you know, a lot of our staff are upskilling seriously in their Adobe and design environments, in their Vectorworks and CAD environments, as well as, you know, in technology environments like Arduino and Raspberry Pi. So look for in the sectors that you're interested, look at the software and consider this as an opportunity to, while you're, you know, at home, back from university and looking for jobs, to upskill and do it free of charge.
Thank you so much. That's a very great point. So obviously I work for the Employability Service at Middlesex, and the students should know me by now. You know, we heavily promote to our students, if you need help with your, you know, your portfolios or your CVs, applications, we are here to help. You do need to come forward. You need to book an appointment. You need to email me, and we are more than happy to, you know, support our students. And the point about, you know, these online platforms that you just mentioned before about the software, I have been telling my students in the current, you know, sort of situation, there are many even free online courses. Even if you're not able to do a lot of practical work at home, because a lot of, you know, electronics kind of, you know, in lab work, it's a lot of practical work, but you can still, you know, get onto these, enroll yourself onto these courses and learn loads of different things, because your CV at this point really does need to stand out. There needs to be sort of like a, you know, unique selling point than just something that's like a general CV that every other student would have in the future. So I think that is a very great point that you both have made. So we have obviously had someone from our university who's worked with you guys as an intern before. I think we'll try and keep that question for later. What, you know, sort of skills you look for when hiring an intern, or, you know, or someone, let's say a junior level role, and to do with opportunities. I'm going to keep that one for later for the students. We can all, you know, or everyone on the panelists can go through those kind of skills for our students today. So thank you, Fraser and JD. I will move on to Joshua now. That's the next one on my screen. So Joshua, if you could introduce yourself and, you know, just give a bit of an overview, please.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'd like kind of a warning at the start. Unfortunately, Zoom seems to be blocked on our GSK network, so I have to join this on using my mobile data. So if I crash out at any point, you know why. It's also why I'm having to do this at the most like unflattering angle I think I've ever ever had a video on before. But yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much for joining, and thanks for inviting me along. I work for GSK. In our early talent recruitment team. Some of you may have heard of GSK, some of you maybe not, but we're one of the world's largest healthcare companies. So we're formed of kind of three main businesses. So our pharmaceutical side of the business that makes kind of the life-saving medicines and that sort of thing in areas like oncology, within HIV and various other areas. We're also the biggest vaccines company in the world. So you may have seen quite a lot in the news and the media about GSK and vaccines and all in with the current situation. So it's a very busy time for that part of our business, but we're also make a lot of consumer healthcare products. So things that you might have used in Boots or kind of seen before, stuff like Sensodyne, Aquafresh, Panadol, loads of kind of household names. So we're kind of formed up of kind of those three main businesses to form GSK. So I work in our head office. So our head office is in Brentford, which is in Middlesex, so not kind of a million miles away from you all. So my role at the company and what I'm responsible for is recruiting and kind of running our programs for our industrial placement students. So they're the kind of year-long internship roles that we offer. Also our summer placements, which are kind of a short kind of 8 to 12 week placements, and our graduate program as well. So we do have long industrial placement roles are open right now and will be open about 3 or 4 weeks more of October, and in that area, I mean, with your degree and everything that you're studying, you'll be eligible for quite a few different ones, including our tech program, our data science programs, both in our research and development side of the business, where you're kind of using data to look at clinical trial results and that sort of thing. And also on our kind of data science in terms of our pharmaceutical supply chains, kind of using data to improve efficiencies in terms of getting our medicine, getting our products, getting everything to the people that actually need them. So there's plenty of options kind of in areas that are are vaguely relevant to your degree, but we also have lots of other areas that are open to all degrees. So if you want to try something completely different as well, we've got our roles within sales and marketing, within supply chain, within HR, within lots of other kind of business operations roles that are open to anyone, no matter what degree you have. So yeah, as I say, the graduate roles are opening in about 3 weeks. I think the 7th of October, and our industrial placement roles are open right now. If I could give you, I guess, one tip. Our whole process and what we're looking for, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, so I won't go into too much detail, but we are really looking for your strengths, the things that you enjoy doing, the things that you do a lot, the things that actually give you, kind of engage you and give you energy while you're doing it. So really do think about that whenever you're applying or looking for a company to go to, or what role you'd like to apply to. Make sure it is something that really does fit in with what you actually like to do. You'll do much better in the process, you'll do much better in the role if you actually get it, and make sure it's a company as well that their values and the things that they're doing is something that really kind of resonates with you as well. Our process is largely built around the values of GSK as a company. So wherever you're applying, if it's with us or anyone else, make sure you do, I guess, look into that a little bit more and make sure it is a company you could actually see yourself working at.
Thank you, Joshua. That was really great. I on the list, I think I've seen myself automation engineer, chemical engineering, electrical engineering, and mechanical engineering. Are these industrial roles for the placements, or are they the graduate roles?
Well, so we have those both for industrial placements, so kind of the year-long roles, and we do also have all of those opening on the 7th of October for our graduate scheme as well, the Future Leaders Programme. So yeah, we have, no matter what kind of year group you're in or what you're looking for, those roles are available for both.
Okay, that's great. So I will definitely send out to the students directly myself as well. But everyone who's joined us today, I think it'll be really useful for you to look on GSK's website as well. And I'm here, like I said, to help you with the application process. And we have had students before applying for GSK, so quite familiar with the application process.
Yeah, and quickly for our placement roles as well, you can apply to more than one. So you can apply to multiple, give yourself a better chance. So yeah, don't apply to hundreds, but that you can do a couple of applications.
Could you just maybe briefly explain the kind of application process for both? Are they quite similar for graduate roles and placements?
Yeah, they are largely similar. Yeah, they are slightly different, but largely similar in terms of what we're looking for. So all of our roles for placements or graduates starts off with a very quick registration form. It only takes about 2 minutes, basically asking you, make sure you're doing the right degree based on what you're applying for, and you're in the right kind of year of study and that sort of thing. You'd then be invited to take the World of GSK, which is an online kind of test where you watch some videos and you're given different scenarios. It takes about an hour, maybe a little bit longer. It's because it's not timed, but it typically takes about an hour to an hour and a half. But you do get, most of it is kind of watching videos and that sort of thing. So you get a good understanding of what the company does and all that. And then the next stage is where the two roles slightly differ. So for our graduate roles, you'd then be invited to take a job preview simulation kind of online exercise, where you're you're answering interview questions via video, but also doing things that are quite relevant to the role that you're actually applying for. So it could be something like replying to an email, or you're asked a question about what you'd actually do in that specific role. So it kind of brings the role to life a little bit more. And then that's for our graduate program. For our industrial placement program, it's simply a similar sort of thing, but it's for a written application form. So for those, we're not looking for you to have loads of previous experience. We're really looking for you to show your motivation for the company and your motivation for the role are probably the two most important bits. So making sure that's really, really clear. And then finally, you'd get invited to our assessment centre, which for this year are all going to be online, and it forms a strengths-based interview, a one-on-one exercise, and for some of our roles, you might be asked to do a presentation as well.
Thank you, Joshua. I think it was quite similar for the computer science panel as well. All the employees we had sort of gave quite similar advice that it's not necessarily to have previous experience, because that's what you're going out to to attain from by doing a placement. But the main thing is to kind of show enthusiasm for the passion for the area that you are interested in, but also interpersonal kind of soft skills as well. So many students do miss out on that in key skill section. Either they make it very technical or they make it very generic. So try to have a balance in your CVs and your applications where you are showing other skills as well. It could be like for example, working on smaller projects or assignments that you've been doing. I always tell my students to create a key project section in their CVs, which shows, most of the time they do work on projects on their own, like an individual project. So it's really good to show those skills, how you manage your project, what kind of outcome it was from that project, what did you learn, what kind of tools you use. So yeah, it's not only technical, of course we want you to highlight them, but do try to highlight some interpersonal kind of skills as well. Thank you, Joshua. So I'll move on to Trisha now. Trisha, if you could please also introduce yourself and give a bit of an overview. And you've also been a student at Middlesex, so just sharing your experience with all us today.
Thanks, Sylvia. Thanks for inviting me into this session. My name is Trisha, and I'm a former student of Middlesex University. I just completed last year. Last year, August, I finished my bachelor's in electronics engineering. And now I'm currently working in Mootech Semiconductors as a junior lab engineer. So Mootech usually deals with in-chip monitoring IPs. So it's like temperature sensor, voltage monitor, and process detector, and utility temperature sensors. So those kind of IPs we deal with. And we all make this product with the 5 nanometer solutions. So it's a great opening for the electronics interested people, because it deals with all IPs, and it's open for design and verification as well. The lab use stuff where we do the verification, like pre and post silicon validation. So being a lab engineer, I work in pre and post silicon validation, which is nothing but, so once the IC is designed, so I do the verification for that. So, and then it goes for the manufacturing. So even after it's written, I'll be doing the post silicon validation, just testing them with the lab use stuff. So I guess Middlesex is teaching lab use, so which is just quite their importance, because that's the main thing they recruited me, because of knowing lab use. And as well, they gave much importance to the hardware description languages like VHDL and system Verilog. It's one of the main things they recruit people based on that. And I have done my diploma in electronics before doing bachelor's in India. So I did my bachelor's diploma for 3 years, and then worked in similar kind of VLSI industry, but I worked as a RTL design. So initially I did the design, and now I'm doing a verification. So it's really interesting to work in this field.
Okay, that's nice to know, Trisha. Just wanted to, I know you said you did diploma before joining Middlesex. Did you have any experience at all in the field, or did you do any work experience, internship while you?
Yeah, I had a year-long experience in the same VLSI industry in India. So once after my diploma, I worked there for a year, and then only I applied to Middlesex. So I entered directly into year 2, so I didn't do my foundation year. So I just did 2 years because of my diploma.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's just trying to find out, did you do any experience? Do you think that helped you to get the job where you are today, or?
Yeah, definitely it will help, because they really look forward for the industrial experience, because what we are learning is totally different when you come to the semiconductor industry. And they quite prefer if you learn the description languages as well, even if you don't have the your experience, like industrial experience, if you learn the VHDL, because in Middlesex they are teaching, we have that language, VHDL, so they teach that, and we have used Vivado as well, a simulation. So if they know all these things, they give much preference.
Okay. And
yeah, but system Verilog is the main language is used in industries nowadays. So if they learn by themselves, system Verilog is quite good, actually.
Okay, thank you. I was also going to ask, so you mentioned you're an international student, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, loads of students I know that have joined us today and that will be watching this live will have this question in their mind, how did you go about finding this role, where, like, for the sponsorship maybe, and like, was it quite hard? How did you get your kind of foot in the door? I think that I definitely know that's one of the questions, because I get asked that a lot when I'm doing my, for my postgraduates especially. So maybe that experience you would like to share with us?
Yeah, last year I attended one of your sessions with a similar kind of thing, and I didn't know what to do, because a lot of companies didn't accept me, because even for the interview, because they said they can't sponsor me because of the international students. So I met you, and you required me to look at these sponsorship PDFs. We have this PDF which all companies would sponsor for the Tier 2 visa. So based on that, I applied to all the companies which belongs to electronics. So it's I guess it says register of sponsors. So all the companies, it will be having it, the PDF. So from that, I applied to all the companies. So that's where I look into Mootech as well. So I applied to them. So I applied to all random companies which belongs to electronics. Yeah.
Which platform did you mainly use to apply? Was it like LinkedIn, or was it specific websites? How did you look for those companies that were providing sponsorship?
It's just a PDF. It's a PDF. It has all the company names which provides
The one on the Home
provides
Office,
a sponsorship.
the one
Yeah.
on the Home Office website.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's one.
that's the
Yeah,
one.
which you provide. I mean,
It's quite a long list, and students.
it's really long because it has got a lot of companies from all different fields. So I just had to look into the particular term, just making a semiconductor, and I look for all the semiconductor companies.
Yeah, that's exactly what I tell the students as well. That because it's a PDF, you can do Control F and search for, you know, what you're looking for, like a specific word. Just put in technology or IT, like you said, semiconductor. If you just put that in, all the lists will come up, and you can just go through in your own time. So, thank you very much, Trisha. That was really useful as well. I just want to go back to Fraser and JD about the intern that we had at your place last year, I think it was. Just to maybe, you know, share from your side, what kind of things do you guys look for when hiring an intern in this kind of field, like product design?
Yeah, they mainly look at how they are in.
I think that was I asked that question for Fraser, but we'll come back to you and
Oh, okay.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, last year we had a girl called Isabelle, who was a second year student studying product design, who she knew somebody who had interned with us doing an events placement, who thought that we would be a good fit for her. So she approached us basically cold. It wasn't part of a scheme or anything like that. She just had a personal connection. She sent us a CV and a portfolio. What was really great about her portfolio was that it wasn't all about the finished products that she designed. She really showcased the design process that she'd been through, from right from a kind of, this is a hand-drawn sketch of a thing that we'd been tasked with designing. Here's the prototypes that I made. Here's the digital versions in every iteration, so that we could see very clearly that she really understood the entire process of design, right from kind of inception, like literally like idea, sketch, right through to making a working prototype and then tweaking that to final product design. So it's like, we don't do kind of product design in the traditional sense, but we do a lot of bespoke, one-off, custom manufacturing on a very small scale. It's like nearly everything that we make is a complete one-off. And we only have one chance to get it right normally, which is very different to the kind of product design that you would do in industry. But having that and being able to see that she absolutely understood the entire process and had skills at every level. She was a decent hand drawer. She was very good at CAD already. And she had a lot of insight into why certain designs would work, why she'd rejected some. So that gave us a real insight into her as a designer. You know, after having a brief chat with her, we could tell very quickly that she had the skills that would scale up to what we do. And she was with us for 9 months, I think.
Yeah.
And one of the things about coming into a company like us, even as a placement student, is that we will ask you to design something, and then chances are we will actually make it. So she spent 9 months with us working on all kinds of different things. She designed things that were filmed for Sainsbury's, and also she designed some fantastic trees for a project in Ashford, which was a regeneration project for the town of Ashford. And they wanted to do sort of a cultural trail that would talk about the history and culture of Ashford, and bring people into the town to stimulate the nighttime economy. So we tasked her basically with some very dry concepts. Like, we want to talk about Ashford's history with the railways. And we also want you to do this in a way that we can make as a 3-meter tall tree. Like, that is quite...
It's about as vague as it gets in terms of, I'm going to try and pull together these concepts. But, as part of our design team, we supported her through, original designs, and then she made paper maquettes, and, it's slowly built over about a 4-month development process until we arrived at, these are the finished designs that that our CNC workshop is going to put together. But yeah, there were lots of other elements, and the ability to to sort of meet with our team collectively, which we do quite a bit, and throw around some ideas, and then for her to leave that meeting and go, okay, I'm going to do some pencil sketches and put that together. Obviously, the design skills are really important and the ability to work on the software that develops everything. That's all very important. But that first step, that kind of, okay, I'm going to take the genesis of the idea and I'm going to scribble it out, even if, and actually saying the word scribble possibly makes it sound like drawing is important, but actually being able to just write it down. It's like, okay, it has these features, it has these points. It's kind of building that development, which is, where our kind of weird one-off products, so art installations or TV sets or event experiential sets are kind of, they have to work, they have to be developed, and they have to be thought through. But yeah, and she was, personality-wise as well, she was a great fit for the team. We're a small team, we're very informal, it's very collaborative. So, in our interview processes, certainly we always bring our team into a sort of a second and third stage interview with anyone and see how they interact and see how they get on, and gives them an opportunity to see the people they're going to work with, play around with some ideas with them, and decide if, this company is a fit for me.
Thank you. I know you mentioned Isabelle had sort of like a personal connection as well, but going forward, is there like a potential for, students to kind of apply with you informally, or is there a formal way, or, to get in touch? Would you be, interested in taking on anyone now that you've had someone from Middlesex already?
Yeah, I mean, we're very keen, sort of supporting opportunities for young people, particularly young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, people that don't have a network of connections, is something that we do a lot of work in, something that we're really interested in. So if anybody is watching and thinks that really sounds like my kind of work, it's a very specific kind of work, it's not for everybody, they're welcome to get in touch. We are hoping to have opportunities next year. Our whole industry has kind of taken a real nosedive this year, but we're hoping that it will rise like a phoenix from the flames. Like that is our hope anyway. That if we invest in kind of new technologies, we're looking a lot at digital events, virtual events, kind of using some of our innovative and problem solving skills actually to slightly change the way that some of the things that we do traditionally work, to make them COVID secure. And to allow us to actually bring new people in. So if anybody wants to get in touch, please do. So we don't have anything immediately, but we do keep people who we think are our kind of people on file, and invite people from that pool when we do have opportunities. The kind of opportunities that we have tend to be kind of junior creatives, junior designers, that kind of thing. So anybody with an engineering or design background who also is very interested in creativity is generally our kind of person, and the kind of person that we're interested in meeting.
I myself, so I did electronic engineering at university, and then went on to do masters in medical electronics, which may seem like a bit of a leap into this, but it's those design skills, it's those engineering design skills that make these complicated projects like floating giant Easter eggs in Loch Ness. And the complexities of that, it's the engineering behind that makes that work. And then Stephen, our more senior designer, he comes from an industrial background. He comes from, from a specialist pump manufacturer, which might seem, again, like a strange leap, but, he's designing parts that are then being sold into the major white good manufacturers. And so he needed the flexibility to change his designs and refit it, because someone at Indesit makes a change to a design, he then needs to change the mounting points and be able to quickly move and adapt. So, again, it may seem, if you're looking at this and you were thinking industrial, then, consider this kind of industry, because it is a very creative way to apply those industrial and product design and engineering skills.
Thank you so much. So, I mean, in the future, like you said, if there is anything that becomes available, then if you could just maybe, you know, forward to us, because you've got my email now, I'll be more than happy to advertise. We've even got on our portal an area for employers where we can get them to just create their profile, and if any opportunities become available, they can post it for our students there. So that would be really great to collaborate together in the future. So I know Josh has already obviously explained the opportunities available. Just moving to Trisha, is there, working for Mortec currently, is there any opportunities available in terms of internships or placement or graduate roles at all?
No, currently there is no vacancy
No.
at the time, but there'll be openings every year for the graduates and interns. So they're recruiting 2 people for the graduate roles, and
Okay.
there is summer internship and there's an year-long internship as well.
So when does the graduate role becomes available then in your organization?
Right from Jan.
From January.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if anyone watching, please do keep your eyes open for January. And in terms of summer internships at the same time, January as well?
Everything is at the same time.
So what's the application process for each?
You just have to go into a career page and you can just send in your resume along with the cover letter.
So it's a CV and a cover letter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next step here is normally a phone call, or is it an interview, or?
Yeah, it will be an interview. Probably they'll be calling you.
Okay. Okay, so it seemed like a very straightforward kind of procedure process. Thank you. Okay, so we've got about 25 minutes left. I'm just going to see if there's any questions coming our way. So I've been asked, should I apply as a junior engineer or a graduate engineer, or both? Okay, so it depends on each. So I'll open this question to our panelists as well. But from my point of view, I would just say it depends on each company as an organization. Some organizations may be advertising as a graduate engineer, some may be advertising as junior engineer. Graduate schemes are normally 2 years round. So there, for recent graduates, if you don't have experience, that's kind of like your chance to kind of gain experience while you're working. And then, you know, you may be able to apply for more like a permanent position. Most of the places that are more smaller companies that advertise graduate roles as junior engineers, which means, you know, it's like a starting off point in a company to work instead of like a senior role. So it all depends on each kind of, you know, website or place that you're looking at. I will open this to our, you know, our employers today, and Trisha as well. So would you maybe like to, do you think students, is there any difference between junior engineer, graduate engineer, or what's your take on this?
Usually, if they didn't have any experience, they can like just apply for graduate engineering. But some companies would directly offer them the role, as you said. Like in my case, I had like year-long experience, and in order to provide me sponsorship as well, they provide me as a junior lab engineer instead of providing me a graduate engineer.
Okay, so I know for Joshua, for GSK, obviously you guys do just graduate schemes and placements. There's no kind of in between junior, or is there?
Yeah, not really. For most of our graduate roles, if you're looking in terms of engineering, it would be part of our Future Leaders program, which is the kind of the name of our graduate scheme in general. And then within that program, there's different streams that you can go down depending on the area of interest of yourself. So that would be as part of our Future Leaders program.
Okay. So the second question that I have is, can you please send that PDF from which Trisha found all these companies? So if you go on to just Google, just type in tier 2 companies, the Home Office, the first link that literally comes as the PDF. If you want, just please do email me separately, and I can reply back with the attachment of that PDF document. So that's not an issue. I've had loads of questions in my last session, so I don't know what's happening with the students today. Is there any other questions for the students? You know, I'm just calling out. So if you have any questions for Fraser, JD, Joshua, Trisha directly, or for generally, for all of them, more than happy to answer. I've got another one. So I used to be a children's nurse, about to start year 2 computer system engineering. A question for GSK, so that's for you, Joshua. During the 12-month placement, are students allowed to mix and match their role to support the project?
Sorry, could you repeat the start of that?
So someone's saying that they used to be a children's nurse and they're about to start year 2 computer system engineering.
Right. Sure.
And for your company, so during the 12 months placement, are students allowed to mix and match their role to support the project?
Right, not formally, I don't suppose. You do kind of choose a role, and it is kind of like doing a job for a year. They aren't kind of like roles created just for students to come in. They are kind of proper jobs where you get kind of proper projects and kind of actual stuff to put on your CV, which is great, but it does mean that there's not always a huge amount of flexibility in changing roles halfway through or going into a different area. So what we kind of introduced fairly recently is a program called IP Swap, where you can kind of alternate with someone in a completely different business area for you for a couple of days to get to know that in a little bit more detail and really find out if kind of other areas are a good match for you if you're going to kind of return as a graduate program, and really kind of help to know what do you want to do once you graduate and what maybe you don't want to do once you graduate. So there are opportunities to do some kind of short-term swaps and some networking in different areas, but you probably wouldn't be able to kind of switch your entire focus area halfway through, if that kind of makes sense.
Okay, thank you, Joshua. Tier 2 jobs after robotic MSc, like I said, just send me a separate email. I can reply back with the PDF document, which you can actually find yourself online too. And like Trisha said, that she was applying to many companies. Once you've got your LinkedIn ready for a specific area that you're interested in and you have your CV tailored to that field, the industry as well, I think it may be easier for you to do kind of like one-click applies if you are really interested in sponsorship. Are summer internships okay for graduates, as I'll be graduating next year but want to do a summer internship? As far as I know, many of the companies will have a graduate scheme. Specifically, that means that if you are a recent graduate, you apply for those instead of the internships. We have had this question before for the panelists as well. I will, again, because Joshua obviously mentioned about summer internships, maybe you are able to answer that question for the student as well.
Yeah, so our summer placements are primarily for students to do in the summer before their last year of university. So you typically, if you're on a 3-year course, apply at the beginning of your second year. If you are going to be graduating next summer, I'd recommend looking and applying for some of the graduate programs that we have.
Okay, thank you. So I think, Trisha, you may be good to answer this one. How should I improve my profile to get the sponsorship?
As I said, they can improve the languages which the companies would prefer. They can go into the company careers website, and if they see their company, they would prefer asking these are the requirements they would need. So based on that, they can learn by themselves from home, because it's how description language is not so difficult for them to improvise in order to go into semiconductor industry. So if they improvise on all these things, what are they, like if they fulfill all the requirements which the company needs, then definitely they'll have a chance. At least if they have like they don't have to know completely, but at least if they could, like they know how the thing works, that would be really useful in that case.
So I'm going to combine that question with another question that's been asked. Are there any more tips for creating a graduate CV for applying to graduate schemes? I think these two can be quite, we can mix them up and just provide an answer that, like Trisha said, that if you look at the company that you're interested in applying for, look at the job requirements, look at the kind of work they are involved in, and if you have done any projects relevant to that, or even if you haven't done anything yet, but you have some kind of knowledge, or you are looking to grow your knowledge in that area, what do you think you can do to fill in the gaps? Now is maybe the time. So, at the beginning, we did say that, if there are any online courses, do get yourself enrolled. There are many free online courses too, but now is the time to kind of fill in any gaps. If, you're in your final year or starting your final year, in your second year. So please do take out time to pay attention to the job requirements, because it's really important, instead of, just going and putting in application. So, the quantity kind of over quality. Yes, I know Trisha said that, she was applying to any company at all, but again, if you know this kind of area is looking for these, let's say program languages, or they're looking for you to have practical experience in this specific field, or you need to have experience of using a specific software in that particular field, then make sure you do read up on these things and try to answer as much as possible through your CV, give an impression, and through your cover letters that you have had experience of doing them. And in your cover letters, I will give one advice: don't just say, I have done this, I have experience of doing this. Make sure you give examples. So try to make it scenario based. So it's like, like a storytelling, like, for example, when I was doing my undergraduate project, final year project, I worked on I gained these experiences and skills where I was also working as part of a team. So that shows some kind of soft skills, technical skills that you worked on a project. So it's like a storytelling, instead of just saying, I have experience of running a project. Yeah. So try to give a bit more context to it. someone said, does this apply for biomedical engineering? I'm not sure what you mean, what applies for. If you could maybe retype that question again, I'll really appreciate that. Another question for Joshua. I have a year of experience with a German surgical company as a service engineer and doing my master's in project management at MDX. What opportunities can I get in GSK?
So yeah, so for GSK, there isn't a limit on necessarily years after graduation that you can actually apply for our graduate program. So we do often, we sometimes do have students that have done a master's or a couple of years after graduating actually applying. So you'll certainly still be eligible, and I definitely certainly recommend some of our Future Leaders program roles to you. Alternatively, if you do have a little bit more experience and you don't think going in at kind of a graduate level is maybe the right step for you, we do quite frequently have direct entry roles at GSK coming up fairly frequently. So these are basically kind of non-program roles that might be kind of a good fit for somebody who's maybe just after university or a year or two down the line. So I'd probably recommend checking those out. What you can do is go onto our careers page and you can set up alerts on there where you can enter a couple of kind of keywords or a couple of locations that you're actually interested in, and you'll get kind of automated emails that come through when anything gets posted. That's kind of a match for that. So I'd recommend doing that, but also certainly do look at our Future Leaders program, because 1 year after university or having done a master's, you'll still certainly be eligible to apply for it too. I think you're on mute.
You couldn't hear me, sorry. Thank you for that. Another one is, given the current climate, would you say that it is better to apply to work in industry or to stay in school for another year and get a postgraduate degree? I will answer that from my side and say that any experience is better than no experience at all. Yeah, you can go into postgraduate degree, same. If you don't want to take out a year to do industrial placement, then you can go and apply for summer internships. Like, Joshua mentioned that they do have different opportunities, and many other companies will have that facility as well. So, even startups or, small to medium size, if you need to be a bit more proactive in your approach. That's one thing. So as Fraser and JD mentioned about Isabelle, she did have a personal connection, but it was very much about going forward, making use of that personal contact. So if you know someone from your family, relatives, your friends who you think are working in a specific area and you are interested in that, make sure you are proactive and not just using an online approach. Number two, you can speak to employers and say, I'm available over the summer from this time to this time. Is there anything available for me? Even given, let's say, 1 day of, work experience, but it's like volunteering, so unpaid. I think that's still better than, doing nothing at all on your CV and having no kind of experience on there. That's why I did begin with saying that interpersonal skills, soft skills are also very much appreciated by the employers. So if you are working in any other field, that's also good, but obviously having relevant experience will be greater for you. So my answer to that question would be that I would suggest having some experience in the field, especially going forward. If it does become quite competitive in the field, then having experience on your CVs would be really attractive to employers, as far as I know, unless someone wants to obviously unmute themselves and say anything else to this, to add to this. I think we have a question for We Make Stuff Happen, which is, are there any preferences in the type of CAD software that you look for?
Okay, I mean, the main CAD software we use is Vectorworks. The reason why we lean towards Vectorworks is because there's a whole set of libraries within Vectorworks that are specifically designed to the entertainment industry. So most people working in the events industry in that site planning or designing stages and theatres are using Vectorworks because they can bring in and import all of the production technology into those 3D models, and then can then build those into sort of WYSIWYG and online virtual lighting software sort of test runs before they start to get into spending money on kit. But we have had people join us who have not used Vectorworks before, and basically any software package is usually pretty translatable.
Yeah, so we have an existing training course that can take people who have used similar software and basically give them a crash course in Vectorworks. It's, if you already have those CAD skills, they tend to be quite transferable. So it's like when we had our first graduates who hadn't used Vectorworks, we thought it was going to take about 3 months to bring them up to speed on Vectorworks. They raced through our training program in 2 weeks. So don't think that just because an employer favors one kind of software that you're going to get, you know, absolutely like not shortlisted because you haven't used it. Like what's useful for us is if you downloaded a free trial, if you sat in on a webinar, if you watch some YouTube videos. So if we say, oh, we use Vectorworks, and you know, so that you don't get that panic of like, oh, I haven't used that, I don't know what that is. If you can say, oh, I haven't used it, I haven't trained in it, but I watched a webinar, it looks really interesting, it's really exciting what you can do with it, and show that you have like a little bit of knowledge, then actually the software that you already know is sort of the building block on which we can teach you the industry specific things that we need you to use for the job. And I would say that any employer who isn't prepared to kind of go on that journey with you, you should look at a little bit kind of skeptically. It's like, we want you to have the right mindset and the right aptitude to do what we need you to do, but the actual software and those kind of skills we can teach you once you're through the door.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we've got another one for GSK. Is GSK involved with Detix health software? Don't know if Joshua, you would know.
Yeah, I saw that question come in. I was hoping you weren't going to answer. Ask me, because I had no idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No, I'm not sure.
Thinking, as you are more from the kind of like the, you know, the early talent kind of recruitment area, so but yeah, I haven't really looked into this myself, but I guess you can probably look online on your website, or is there a specific contact?
I can try. I'll try and find out and come to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also what might help is if you're looking to go more on the health side, if there are specific job descriptions, they may give away if they're already using something specific software, or, you know, they would like you to have knowledge of that area. So again, do look out for the job descriptions, but if you can obviously find out from your team as well, that would be really great, Joshua. Sure. Okay, so we've got another one. I've learned a few different programming languages outside of university. How best could I show my understanding in a CV or cover letter? I think I sort of did answer that if you are learning different things, and, you know, the key skills is a main section where you would highlight any, you know, programming skills or any technical. So I normally say have a bullet point list. It's better than having a paragraph for your skill section. So straight to the point, employees can quickly skim through, you know, pick up things from there and, you know, compare it to their job descriptions, because they do receive loads of CVs in a day. So, you know, you need to do something in a way where your structure does stand out. So having bullet points will help. Straight to the point, highlight your technical skill, the main one. And then next to that, you can explain how you attain that skill. So giving just a little scenario, just 1 to 2 lines maximum, not too long. But in your cover letter, you can go into a bit more detail. Like I said before, try to make a bit more storytelling where it's scenario based. So you're giving examples. Even when you go to your interviews, you're never going to be asked, have you ever used this software? Or even if they do ask you this question, don't just say, yes, I have used it, and your answer there. You need to give a bit more details. You know, I have used this software. For example, when I was doing my internship at this place, or for example, when I was studying in my year 2 of university, I did this. I was told to create an assignment using the software where I had to go about doing some research, etc., etc. So that's probably, you know, the best way of showcasing your skills and understanding of things in the same kind of format. The next one, would this climate affect the possibility of getting tier 2 visa? Obviously things are quite competitive at the moment, and, you know, even for home students, it is quite a challenging times, I will say. But that doesn't mean it's totally an end to everything. We can't, obviously every company is different. Some companies may be growing better than any other company at this point. Like, you know, we started off by saying that specifically the whole engineering kind of technical sectors are growing a bit more at this point. You know, there's a lot of work from home going on at this point. So companies are still recruiting. It's not that they're not. at all. Otherwise, we wouldn't have opportunities such as, like, GSK saying that we are, opening our placements and graduate roles soon. Even, for example, We Make Stuff Happen, they're saying, from next year going forward, we may have some opportunities available. Trisha said the same thing for Mortec as well. From January, there will be things becoming available. That means there are plans to keep it going. But in terms of the tier 2, again, going through that list, looking for individual companies that do provide sponsorship is kind of your, where your luck lies. That, you need to go through that and be a bit more proactive. If there's any events going on, any virtual events, any webinars taking place, if you go on to Grad Cracker, I know they normally advertise for loads of events at this point. They've been doing loads, even previously they've been doing a lot. And now is kind of the time where October is when many of the employers do roll out their placements and graduate schemes. So that's when they are trying to get ahead and do like a live session with the students, talk about the company, talk about any opportunities going on. So maybe that will be a good point to pick out any employers as well, just attending those webinars or any virtual events. If any, the recruitment affairs are taking place, make sure you are there to attend those events. Sometimes when talking to employers face to face, you get to find out more information than just, having access to their website, which may not be even updated. So yeah, that's what I would say. Any other questions at this point for anyone? We only have 5 minutes left, or a few minutes before we sign off. I don't think we have any more questions. So I'm going to end the Q&A here. Thank you to all of you again, one more time, for joining us and giving such useful insight and tips to our students, and also to the students for joining today as well. If you think your friend or someone that would benefit from watching this webinar next time, it will be recorded. Like I said, it will be available on our channel, so make sure you do let them know, inform them. Is there anything that you guys would like to add before we sign off today?
So yeah, thanks so much for joining. And yeah, our placement roles are open now and the graduate roles are open on the 7th of October.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
Yeah, thank you for having us. And I just want to wish everybody who's watching this good luck. Like, we know that it's a really tough time. And I think that there are a lot of employers at every level like really committed to making sure that young people don't miss out on experiences. So try not to panic. And yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end the session now. So yes, I'll keep in touch with all of you guys via email. So thank you once again. Good luck, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.